So here we are, City Hammond Town Hall meeting. Congressman Scott Scalise. We're going to ask a question about dollar devaluation in the Federal Reserve. Stay tuned.
He has said if we keep spending at this unprecedented level, they will downgrade the bond rating of the United States.
Correct, I heard that.
So we've got to cut spending. Now, what I'm saying is, we can all talk about what happened under Republicans and Democrats, but if we don't acknowledge that, forget about what happened yesterday, we've got to start addressing the problems today by cutting spending. We have to start cutting spending. And for the Senate to say we're going to take a week off, and by the way, $100 billion is too deep to cut, that's just not living in the real world right now.
Sir, I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it at this here.
Sure.
If I ran my house like they ran the Congress in the United States, we'd be in the poorhouse.
That's right. That's why
taking that money, taking all that money, and just lining their pockets or doing away with it. But they don't have it.
We need to start cutting spending then. Seriously, start cutting spending.
Well, don't start with. Oh, I agree with that, but don't start with the poor. Start with the rich. Cut the rich. Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold on.
If you want to raise taxes on people and kill jobs in America, I'm not
kill jobs. I'm going back with Ronald Reagan. We're going to go with the trickle-down effect. We all trickle down the crumbs, and that's all we're going to do.
Guess what happened? Job growth took off.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
But Congress spent too much money. More money came into the federal treasury. Go look at the numbers, please. Go look at the numbers when real tax cuts were implemented under Kennedy, under Reagan, under Bush. Federal revenues swelled dramatically, but we had deficits some of those years because Congress spent too much money. The formula is you make real tax cuts, but you also control spending. You do those two things, you can get us back to a balanced budget.
I don't believe in winners.
My concern is the dollar devaluation due to the power of the Fed being able to print fiat money that's not backed by anything. And Ron Paul has a bill, H.R. 459 S202, that audits the Fed. And the Fed, since it's been in existence, hasn't been audited in 7-something odd years, being a privately owned bank. And the chairman, Ben Bernanke, he refuses to tell us where our bailout money went. And due to fractional reserve banking, the bailout money, when Congress borrows money from the Fed, they're able to create credits and derivatives 10 times that amount when they deposit that into the bank, and so on and so forth. So that, I think, is the problem, we're seeing with the deficit that we have now. And I think the Federal Reserve is where we need to focus, not on the Democrats or the Republicans or our tax cuts or whatnot. I think we need to know where, who's controlling the printing of the money and where it's going. And, I think that the audit of the Fed bill should be more focused on.
Well, I'll first say I oppose the bailouts. I thought, first of all, they didn't work, but if you look at how they were set up, it was set up for failure, unless you were Goldman Sachs or AIG or some of those fat cats who helped create this mess. They got all their money, and it's our local community banks that didn't do anything wrong that are getting paid the price right now.
Right.
I'm a proud co-sponsor, Ron Paul's audit the Fed bill, the one that you're talking about. I thought it was really neat that, if you look at this new Congress, the chairman of the subcommittee on financial services that is in charge of the Fed, that has oversight of the Fed, is chaired by Ron Paul this year. And so I thought that was a really good step to show that we're serious about looking at what the Fed's doing and what those things that they're doing have in terms of not only monetary policy, but what exposure us, the taxpayers, are having by those decisions that they're making. So I think it's time for that kind of transparency, and I think that bill is a
also with the devaluation of the dollar, it is the world currency as right now. And China actually came out in a press release saying they denounced the dollar. And oil can only be bought and traded with dollars. So every other country has to exchange their currency into dollars to buy that. And they're being ripped off because of the devaluation of us being able to print all this money out of thin air, which I think is $100 billion a month just to pay the interest on our debt. So we're just continuing the debt in the hole, and we're not going anywhere. And these tax cuts and jobs, they're being exported to other countries. That's the problem. Then I think also what we're seeing is in the Middle East with the oil, us relying on them for oil. You know, I think back, I don't know when exactly, but there was deals made with the United States and these Middle Eastern countries that we would buy oil from them. In exchange, they would buy our debt, T-bills. So that's another issue.
Yeah, but ultimately, it all comes back to spending policy. If we keep spending, inflation's coming. If we keep
It's
spending
here.
money
You
we
said
don't
gas
have,
is up to
inflation is going to start going up. And then the devaluing of the dollar is a real problem. And again, as I talked about, you've even got major investment companies that are saying, these rating agencies that are saying they will actually downgrade the U.S.'s bond rating, which has even more implications. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens if we don't get serious about cutting spending in Washington. And that's why this is a real fight that's going on right now. I mean, literally in the next 2 weeks, we'll see if the Senate's willing and the President's willing to be serious about this. You know, and if they don't want to take it serious, we're going to.
I mean, we're looking at an economic collapse, you know, and if that happens, they're talking about the martial law.
No.
And
Sir.
Along those same lines, I was just wondering about the Fed. You know, there's been some talk about auditing the Fed. My question to you is,